My name is Dr. Tushar Mehta. I'm from Canada, and I did my residency there in family medicine. I've also practiced addictions medicine, and I've mostly practiced emergency medicine, or what you call A&E in some countries. I have an interest in international health, and I do work in India and a few other places. And on top of that, I have a strong interest in plant-based diet and health. So when I say plant-based diet and health, you can also say vegan diet and health. And I'm here on behalf of Hina Modi and plantshift.com. This next video is going to be about omega-3s and fish. All right. So we talked a little bit about fish in the previous videos there, and I'm going to reiterate and maybe go over some points. So for a while in the 90s and maybe early 2000s, there were some studies showing that, hey, maybe this omega-3s, they're like magic. People get less depressed, it's good for your heart, maybe there's less stroke, what's going on here, right? People are having a Mediterranean diet and maybe it's the fish that's causing all this benefit for people. So what they did, like in many cases, like we've done with vitamin C studies, vitamin E studies, vitamin D studies, and all these things that initially showed a little bit of promise, so they went and they did bigger studies, and they did that on omega-3s. The larger and more modern omega-3 studies with larger populations, better controls, show that there's no benefit in heart disease. Some studies show that there might be a slight detriment. Same with diabetes, no benefit in diabetes, maybe a slight detriment. And it doesn't benefit your depression. And basically all the things that they thought it was going to benefit didn't really pan out. That's kind of the same thing that happened with vitamin C. They thought there were some initial studies that show us benefit. All of a sudden everybody's taking vitamin C. There's a billion-dollar industry or something like that behind it, but the studies that were bigger and better showed there was no benefit. Same with vitamin E, same with most nutrients that we take, the latest being calcium. They're showing that the calcium supplementation, vitamin D supplementation, except in very specific populations that may be really underdosing their calcium, they don't benefit. The general population doesn't benefit from taking supplementations. Just have a good diet with your fruits and vegetables and beans and lentils and all that stuff. But actually dairy intake and more vitamin D, dairy intake actually makes your bones weaker. So now the same thing is true with omega-3s. There's not shown to be any benefit from the better and more modern studies, and again, repeated studies coming out and showing that there's no benefit. Now fish, compared to eating other forms of animal-based foods, have been shown to be beneficial. That doesn't mean that the fish is necessarily beneficial and sort of universally beneficial, but just when you compare it to eating like red meat or processed meat, it's not as bad. So when you have a study that shows fish is beneficial, it's usually in a study comparing people eating red meat and processed meat and stuff like that, and compared to that, the fish eating group is beneficial. But when you compare it to eating more fish or less fish, there's the article I talked about with diabetes, comparing people who are eating almost no fish to those eating 5 times a week. Those people having the more fish had more diabetes. There's one regarding breast cancer that's similar to that, showing the women having more fish diet had higher amounts of breast cancer. Again, these are a few studies. They're good studies, but it's not the end of the story as well. So when it comes to the cancer, but with the heart disease and diabetes, there's a lot of data now showing there's not any benefit. Okay, now there's one area where there may be a benefit, and there may be a benefit in pregnant and lactating women to have a bit of omega-3 in their diet, okay? Because omega-3 is one of those things that could be beneficial for the developing brain. So we haven't fully proven it. We haven't fully shown that these omega-3s are definitely going to make a child smarter and better because their brain is better, but there's some evidence leading us to that direction, okay? So I would recommend that somebody who is pregnant or lactating get some omega-3. But here's the rub. All right, fish is the most highly toxic food on the planet. Okay, there's enormous amounts of methylmercury, PCBs, dioxins, furans, other heavy metals, and lots of problems. Okay, now the bigger fish, the predatory fish, have exponentially more than the smaller fish, but the smaller fish still have a lot. There's studies showing that these things damage the developing brain, and certainly if somebody's getting enough mercury and some of these toxins from fish, there's even studies showing that the shape and structure of a child and baby's brain changes. And that's quite profound, that it's something that actually changes the shape of a child's brain. They've got MRIs and those kind of imaging showing that the shape of these children's brain is changed from diet with too much fish and therefore too much mercury. Okay, so that's really dangerous. So then how do you get the benefits of omega-3 without getting the mercury? Okay, well, where do fish get their omega-3 from? Okay, fish get their omega-3 from eating algae. That's how it ends up in the fish. And then some fish eat other fish and it just goes up the food chain. But originally, the omega-3s come from algae. So there are now places where they sort of brew the algae, just the way you brew beer or something like that. And you sort of cultivate that like in the fat and scoop out the omega-3. And it's 100% toxin-free. The exact same omega-3 that you find in fish, the long-chain fatty acids of omega-3, the EPA and DHA, but they're completely plant-based and 100% toxin-free. And that, if people take as a supplement during pregnancy or breastfeeding, could potentially be a good source of omega-3s that might benefit a child's brain. Okay, so so I'm not saying that everybody has to take this, but because we don't have enough evidence to say that you have to take it if you're a pregnant or lactating woman, I don't think it's that much. But there's some suggestive benefits, so I'm going to go ahead and recommend that. Why not go ahead and try it, but get the stuff that doesn't have any mercury in it. No PCPs, no dioxins, no furans, no heavy metals. Get the plant-based omega-3 that's from algae. Okay, so the references for every single video that I have are going to be downloadable from the description box, where you can click and download the entire set of references, and then just scroll down to the relevant references. If it's a video on diabetes or cancer or something like that, scroll down to the relevant section and take a look at the references that I'm speaking about. In my videos, I'll generally discuss one reference, but it's going to take too long to discuss 10 references and you'll be bored out of your mind. So I'll discuss one, and then you can go into the reference list and look at more references that are talking about the same topic. And it's important not just to have one reference, but to have multiple references that discuss a topic, because then you're seeing that different studies are being done in different places by different people, and they're getting similar results that are reinforcing each other. Okay, so that's another good thing to look at.